You talk too fucking much. That's your first problem. You're so obsessed with being heard, you forgot how to build. Every goal you speak out loud is a little hit of fake accomplishment. It tricks your mind into thinking you've made progress, but you haven't moved an inch. You're still broke, still soft, still average, and it's not because you lack motivation, it's because you're addicted to noise. You don't want to grind in the dark. You want applause before you've done anything worth clapping for. That's why you lose. You say things like, I'm gonna get rich, I'm gonna get in shape, I'm gonna make it. No, you're not. Because if you were, you wouldn't be fucking saying it. You'd be doing it. But you can't shut up. You need people to know. You want credit for a story that hasn't even started. You want a standing ovation before the curtain rises. And that's why nothing in your life changes. Because you live in this dream world where words mean progress. But they don't. Words are wind. Action is concrete. You have to understand something brutal. The world doesn't care about your potential. It doesn't give a single fuck about your goals. People are too busy surviving to care if you're planning to become a millionaire or hit the gym next Monday. And the ones who do listen, they're either waiting for you to fail so they can laugh quietly, or they secretly hoping you never outgrow them. The moment you declare your mission, they start calculating your downfall. Not always because they hate you, but because your ambition makes them uncomfortable. It reminds them that they settle. So they smile at you, they nod, but inside they're praying you stay exactly where you are. And you feed them. You feed the enemy every time you open your mouth and broadcast your intention. You don't even realize you trained your brain to crave recognition more than results. You get that little dopamine shot from saying you'll do something, and then you chase that high again by telling someone else. And you keep talking, telling your plans, sharing your ideas, posting your hustle. You become addicted to being seen instead of becoming strong. That's dangerous. Because once the illusion becomes more rewarding than the reality, you're finished. You'll start mistaking movement for progress. You'll think you're winning just because you're visible. But visibility without results is exposure. It's weakness. The strongest men I know don't talk about their next move. They just move. They don't announce their goals. They dominate them. They go silent, vanish into the shadows, and build kingdoms while the rest of the world scrolls and talks. And when they return, they don't return for validation. They return with evidence. You want to be that man? Then stop fucking leaking power. Every time you tell someone your goal, you're letting a piece of it die. You're letting their doubt creep in. You're giving away the most dangerous part of your edge, your unpredictability. Be honest with yourself. How many times have you said, this is my year, only to end up back in the same miserable spot with the same excuses, the same body, the same broke bank account, and the same circle of average people patting you on the back for trying? Trying isn't worth shit without execution. Ambition without silence is masturbation. You're wasting energy talking when you should be producing, creating, crushing. You know what I did when I was broke? I went ghost. I didn't tell anyone a damn thing. I let the hunger consume me. I trained, I studied, I worked in the shadows while everyone else played loud. I made suffering my partner and silence my strategy. And when I came back, I didn't need to say anything because I became undeniable. That's what silence does. It builds tension, it breeds fear, it turns men into myths. You're not supposed to be understood. You're supposed to shock them when you return. You're not supposed to tell them what you're building. You're supposed to show up one day and make them wonder how the fuck you did it. And by the time they ask, it's already too late. You've already won. You've already left them behind. And now they have to watch in silence. The same silence you use to sharpen yourself. You don't need accountability. You don't need to tell your friends your plans. You need revenge. You need rage. You need war in your mind, not words in your mouth. This world doesn't respect talkers. It bows to doers. So the next time you feel the urge to say what you're about to do, don't. Let them think you've quit. Let them think you've disappeared. Let them laugh. Then come back as a fucking monster. I remember sitting in a tiny apartment in a country where I didn't even speak the language. I had no real friends around me, barely any money left, and not a single person I could trust with my next move. But that was the moment I realized that was exactly what I needed. Silence. Isolation. Pressure. Nobody checking in, nobody clapping for me, nobody watching, just me and war. I didn't tell my brother. I didn't update my circle. I vanished because I understood something most men never do. If they can see the climb, they can track the failure. And I wasn't going to give them that. I was broke, angry, invisible, and that was the most powerful place I'd ever been. Because finally there was no noise left. No distractions, no fake encouragement, just hunger, strategy, and blood in my teeth. I remember nights where I would pace the room, body buzzing with energy, mind spinning with plans, and not one word of it left my mouth. I didn't share, I didn't explain, because the more I stayed silent, the stronger I got. I wasn't feeding the world anymore, I was feeding myself. Feeding that animal inside me that had been starved by validation, drained by praise, and sedated by the need to be understood. Is the time I used to announce everything. I'd get an idea and immediately tell someone. I thought it made me disciplined. I thought it made me bold, but it didn't. It made me weak. I was giving away the spark before it could become fire. And when things got hard, because they always do, I had already let everyone know what I was supposed to accomplish. So now when I stumbled, I didn't just feel pain, I felt shame, because I made myself perform on a stage before I built the act. You see, that's the trap. You don't just risk failure, you risk public failure. And when you told the world what you're building, you don't just lose progress, you lose face. The turning point for me was one cold morning where I woke up, looked around, and asked myself, what if I stopped telling people everything? What if I just shut the fuck up and built something so big, so powerful that when I finally showed it, it would speak for me? That question changed my entire trajectory. From that moment, I went underground. I stopped being the talker. I became the operator. And brother, when I tell you the universe started moving for me, I'm not exaggerating. The momentum I gained in the dark outmatched every single inch of progress I tried to create in the light. Because when you stop explaining and start executing, life gets out of your way. There were days I had nothing but a laptop, cold coffee, and a plan so big it scared me, but I didn't tell a soul. I guarded it like a secret weapon. Because once you realize the value of your vision, you stop offering it to people like cheap conversation. You don't need to convince them. You don't need their approval. Their permission doesn't buy you success. Your discipline does. And every day I stayed silent, I got sharper. I got colder. I started to feel like a machine. No feelings, no distractions, just moves. And when that first breakthrough came, money started flowing in, deals started closing, and I didn't call anyone. I didn't post, I didn't celebrate, I doubled down in silence. Because I wasn't chasing recognition, I was chasing freedom. I remember walking past people who used to doubt me. They had no idea who I had become. They still thought I was stuck, still thought I was struggling. And I kept it that way because their underestimation became my shield. You want to build a real empire? Let them think you quit. Let them think you failed. You build when no one's looking. You prepare when the world thinks you're done. That's how you destroy. That's how you arrive as a storm instead of a whisper. Most of you will never taste real success because you're addicted to applause before you've won. You think the world is supposed to watch you transform. It's not. Your transformation is supposed to shock them, not slowly show them, shock them. One day they wake up and you're rich, ripped, disciplined, and untouchable. And when they ask how you did it, the answer is simple. I stopped talking. I started building. Nobody believed in me in the beginning, and that was the gift. If they had, I might have depended on their energy. I might have gotten comfortable, but they didn't clap. They didn't check in, and it forced me to clap for myself. That's where the real fire comes from. That's where you become unstoppable, when your self-belief is louder than their silence. So understand this, your story doesn't need an audience until the book is finished. Let them keep flipping through your old chapters. Let them assume that's where you stopped. Meanwhile, write the next volume in blood and sweat. Make it so fucking undeniable that when it finally drops, the world has no choice but to kneel. There's a version of you that dies every single day you waste running your mouth instead of running your mission. Every time you tell someone your next move, you don't just leak power, you bury potential. You dig a grave for the man you could have become. You let time slip, you let energy fade, and you lie to yourself that tomorrow you'll start. But here's the truth, tomorrow is not guaranteed. You don't have time, that's the delusion. You think your youth is your advantage. You think you got years, you don't. You've got seconds, and they're vanishing whether you move or not. One day you're gonna look in the mirror, older, weaker, eyes dimmer, and you're gonna feel it. That brutal sting, the what if that turns into why didn't I? That sick feeling in your stomach when you realize the only reason you're still average is because you spent your golden years explaining instead of executing. You were too busy impressing people who don't matter to become a man who dominates. And then it'll hit you, no one ever really cared. Not about your goals, your ideas, your vision. They smiled, they nodded, and they moved on. While you stayed stuck in a performance, chasing applause that never paid your bills. You think there's safety in telling others your dreams. You think being open gives you discipline? It doesn't. It kills you slowly. Because every time you talk, you soften the edge, you reduce the tension, you make the mission feel smaller. You empty the chamber before you've even pulled the trigger. And eventually your goals become nothing but recycled words you've said 1,000 times without ever proving them real. That's the trap. And the worst part is, you won't notice. You'll wake up in your 30s, maybe 40s, still running the same cycle. Still talking, still hoping, still convincing yourself that you're just getting started. But deep down, you'll know. You're not getting started, you're getting left behind. Regret is a cancer that grows slow. It starts with little compromises, skip days, conversations that replaced action, excuses dressed as strategy, and then one day it becomes unbearable. You'll feel it when you see someone else living the life you wanted. You'll see him walk past, disciplined, cold, focused, free, and you'll hate him. Not because he did anything wrong, but because he proved it was possible. And you didn't do it, you told people about it. He built it. That's the fear you should carry. Not fear of failure, failure sharpens you, but fear of comfort, fear of becoming a man who almost made it. A man who was supposed to win, a man who had the fire, but poured water on it every time he needed someone's validation before lighting the match. That man lives in regret, and he doesn't get a second shot. You only get one swing in this life, one run. And if you waste it broadcasting your intentions instead of crafting your reality, you'll suffer in silence while pretending you're fine. We're not fine. If you were, you wouldn't be listening to this. You're restless because deep down you know you've been stalling. You've let years pass under the illusion of progress when all you've really done is talk. You've walked in circles while convincing yourself it's a straight line. That ends now. You've got to become dangerous, quiet. You've got to take every ounce of energy you've wasted explaining yourself and use it to build a life so solid it crushes every doubt ever thrown your way. Your competition isn't waiting. The world isn't pausing for you to catch up. There's someone out there right now, working in silence, stacking wins, growing hungrier, while you rehearse your story instead of writing your results. You keep preparing, he's already executing, and in 5 years, when he owns the house, drives the supercar, walks with purpose, you'll be sitting with your circle telling them about the dream you had, and you'll nod again. And you'll die a little more inside. This is your shot. Not next month, not when you feel ready, now, today. You either get serious or you get left. You either lock the fuck in and make something happen while the world sleeps, or you stay loud, predictable, soft, another voice in the crowd. But don't you dare say you weren't warned. Don't you dare blame anyone when the doors close and you're still outside with your excuses. Watching a man who said nothing walk past you holding everything you ever wanted, there's a storm inside you, a beast waiting to be unleashed, but it will never wake up in a room full of noise. You have to silence the world, silence the distractions, silence the weak version of you that craves attention. And when you do, something magical happens. You start to feel fear and convert it into fuel. You turn urgency into clarity. You stop running your mouth and start sprinting toward purpose. That's when the game changes. That's when you become lethal. Not when you speak. When you shut up and strike, you've got two choices. You either become a man of silence and power or a man of noise and excuses. There is no third path. There's no glory in being halfway strong. There's no legacy in being known for talking. The world remembers the man who executes, the one who walks into a room and everyone feels it, not because he said anything, but because everything about him screams control, pain, war, and victory. That kind of energy isn't built by posts and updates. It's built in the dark, in the grind, in the moments nobody claps for, the ones where you bleed alone, but keep moving anyway. Every man has a voice in his head. The weak use it to narrate fantasy. The strong use it to command reality. That's the difference. You've been talking to yourself about what you'll do for years. You've given speeches in the mirror. You've imagined yourself winning, but imagination is poison when it replaces action. The world doesn't reward what you dreamed. It rewards what you built. And the brutal truth is, most of you are still waiting for the right mood, the right energy, the right sign to start moving. Let me tell you something. The men who make it don't wait for signs. They become the sign. They move regardless of feeling. They build regardless of praise. They win regardless of who's watching. You want to change your life? Stop documenting the journey. Start conquering it. Stop announcing your plans like you're asking for permission. You don't need approval. You need results. You need proof of work, and that comes from isolation, discipline, and rage. Real transformation happens when you get so fucking disgusted with where you are that staying still becomes more painful than moving forward. That's when something snaps. That's when you start waking up before the alarm. That's when you stop giving a fuck about how you feel and you start respecting the man you could become. You'll never know how dangerous you can be until you spend 6 months in pure silence. No announcements, no bragging, just pure, ruthless action. You hit the gym when you don't want to. You build your body until it reflects the level of mental domination you carry. You stack money not to flex, but to escape the leash. You become so cold, so disciplined that when people see you again, they don't recognize. And you don't explain shit. You just keep moving. That's power. That's freedom. That's how kings are made. You've been soft for too long. You've traded results for reactions. Every time you told someone your goal, you gave yourself a dopamine hit, a fake sense of achievement. That's why you're empty. Because you spent your time harvesting attention instead of building empires. But deep down, you know the truth. You know you're capable of more. You feel the fire under the bullshit. That's why you're here. That's why you haven't quit. Because something inside of you is still alive, still fighting, still screaming, let me out. And I'm telling you now, let him out. Let that savage version of you rise. The one that doesn't talk, the one that doesn't explain, the one that just wins. There's a certain peace that comes with becoming untouchable. You don't need to argue, you don't need to post. You don't need to convince anyone of anything. Your results speak for you. Your energy introduces you. That's what happens when you stop talking and start transforming. You become a storm. You don't knock on doors, you kick them down. You don't beg for opportunities, you create them. You become undeniable, not because you said you would, but because you showed up when it was hard. You trained when it was lonely. You stayed hungry when everyone else got comfortable. The man who shuts up and gets to work always wins, always. He might not be seen at first, he might be overlooked, but eventually the silence becomes too loud to ignore. Because results cannot be debated, money cannot be ignored, power cannot be faked. And the realest strength doesn't need to be tweeted, it's carved into your presence. It's felt before you even speak. That's the type of man you should be becoming. One who doesn't need to prove, one who simply is. So stop posting progress, stop seeking applause, stop explaining why this time it'll be different, make it different, move like a ghost, train like a soldier, build like a machine, and when the results come in, and they will, don't say a word, just smile, just nod, just disappear again, because the game never ends. The moment you win, the war restarts. That's what keeps you sharp. That's what keeps you alive. Be the man they hear about, not the one they remember for talking. Let me make it painfully clear, no one's coming. No handouts, no savior, no golden ladder dropped from the clouds, just you. Just the raw version of you that nobody knows yet, the one still buried under years of bullshit, excuses, and soft habits. And the only way you'll meet him is through pain, isolation, and the absolute refusal to stay average for one more second. It's a decision, that's all it is. A moment where you say, fuck the noise. I'm done being ignored. I'm done being soft. I'm done running my mouth. And instead of repeating the same tired goals you've told your friends for years, you go ghost and you return with proof. You've talked enough, you've planned enough, you've imagined it so many times that your brain actually thinks you did something, but your life is still the same. Same body, same bank account, same circle, same weak little emotional loops you hide behind. And guess what? The clock doesn't care, the world doesn't care, your future self is watching, begging you to wake the fuck up. Because in 5 years, the regret you feel will be suffocating. You'll think about this exact moment This exact second when you could have decided to flip the switch and you didn't. You'll feel it in your gut like a punch that never stops hitting. And no amount of words will save you from that agony. But here's the beautiful truth. You're not dead yet. You're still breathing, which means it's not over, which means the man you were born to be is still on the table. And if you want him, truly want him, not the fantasy version, not the Instagram version, but the real, raw, war-torn king, then it's time to disappear from the noise and make yourself undeniable. Do the work that doesn't show. Become dangerous in silence. Stack so many wins in the dark that when you show your face again, people don't even recognize who the fuck you are. That's the goal. That's the level. And it's only reached through absolute obsession and zero distraction. This world rewards the savage who keeps moving through pain. The one who doesn't need applause. The one who treats discipline like a religion. You don't need motivation. You need to be sick of your own shit. You need to get to a point where the thought of wasting one more day physically makes you angry. Where comfort feels like poison. Where distractions feel like chains. Where the only thing that matters is the mission. That's when you evolve. That's when you stop being a civilian and become a weapon. And once you taste that level of control, you'll never go back. Stop asking people what they think. Stop announcing your goals like you're doing the world a favor. The only person you need to convince is the guy in the mirror, and he doesn't listen to your words anymore. He's tired of the speeches. He wants to see blood. He wants results. He wants to see you fucking earn it. That's the only way he'll respect you again. And when he does, when you finally gain that self-respect back through sacrifice and war, you become unstoppable. Not because life gets easier, but because you become harder. There's a fire waiting for you, a battlefield calling your name, but you can't walk into it with your mouth open and your hands empty. You walk in armed with scars, armed with hunger, armed with the silence that turns you into something real. And you don't stop, you don't pause, you don't slow down when it hurts, you push harder. Because every inch you move forward in pain is one step closer to the version of you that no one can beat. So here's the final order. Shut the fuck up and become a legend. Stop sharing, start stacking. Stop hoping, start hunting. Move like your life depends on it, because it does. This is it. This is your shot. And if you walk away from this moment still clinging to the weak version of yourself, understand something. No one will save you. No one will hand you greatness. And if you fail, you'll have to sit in that failure knowing you were warned, knowing you had the truth in your face and still chose comfort. But if you rise, if you lock in, go silent, and commit like your blood is boiling, then everything changes. People will feel you before you speak. Doors will open without you knocking. And the man you become will not only win, he'll dominate. He'll be feared. He'll be free. So disappear, shut your mouth, and fucking build.